Um, there you.
So there I am. Okay, unmuted. Hey. So just wanted to make sure we get started on time. Just letting people in. People are still coming. So this is good. I haven't done this in a whole 5 months. Feels like that's what it feels like anyway. Okay, we're good. All right, I'm gonna put myself on mute for a little while and then wait for a few more people to come in, and we should get started hopefully within the next 10 minutes. Good evening, everyone. This is Sheila Green. We're just waiting for a few more of our invited guests to show. They should be coming on in about maybe another 5 minutes. Um, but in the meantime, just want to invite those of you, thank those of you that have already signed in. And if you can hear me, would you please raise your hand and then lower it so I can know that everybody's on the same page? Okay, thank you. Okay, good, good, good. Thank you, John. Thank you, Joey. Okay. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Sheree. Thank you, Officer Baker. Did I say thank you, John? I think I did. Who else? I think I saw Namdi and Bridget. Okay, good.
How you doing today, Miss Green?
I'm good.
That's good. I just
All
wanted to
right,
let you go ahead. I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, just wanted to let you know. I know I'm gonna need to head off by 7 today, so just
All
want to
right.
give you a heads up, okay?
All right, no problem.
All right.
All right, the mayor's here. Oh, no. Oh, no. Uh, da. Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, Miss Green.
Well, it's getting tight in here, so we could get started. Assemblyman said he was going to be there by 6:15, so I'll let him in when he gets there. And
Okay.
for the sake of everybody else's time, I would like to get started so that we can at least go forward and get the preliminaries out the way so that everybody has to jump off can do what they have to do. This will be recorded. It is being recorded so that way you can view it at a future date. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I thank everyone for coming. I am multitasking, which I normally do. I want to introduce myself to those that don't know me. My name is Sheila Green. I am the outreach coordinator for PBCIP, as well as the community director for cultural affairs for Camden County Historical Society. As stakeholder, grandmother, and overall like mom to everybody that needs a mom. Okay. So I want to thank everybody for coming on. We haven't had a meeting since June, and I really welcome everybody back. It's been a nice summer. We had a lot of good stuff. So we're going to start off the way we normally do, and we're going to just pray to whomever you pray to. We do not anything in particular, anybody specific. So I normally like to just be thankful for what it is that we have, be thankful for where we're going, be thankful for what we've done. And then we go on from there. So if you bow your heads, heavenly creators of all good and beautiful and blessed things, we thank you tonight. We thank you tonight for bringing us together, for allowing us to actually be able to be the people that we are. We are coming together again, this time, to talk about things that we should talk about. And we are asking you to give us the guidance to do and say the things that mean something to all, as well as ask the questions that make us want to understand better what it is that we have. We bless you for all of what you've done, what you are doing, and what you will do. And we thank you for everything in the name of Jesus and for all of what he's done for us. Amen. Pastor Collins, if you had been there 5 seconds earlier, that would have been yours.
Well, you did a wonderful job and you well qualified.
Thank you so much. All right. So welcome everyone. Welcome to our PBCIP September community meeting. We want to get started so that everybody can go and do what they have to do before the night is over. I just want to welcome all of our guests. Our evening's guests are our mayor, Victor Karstafen,
Hello,
our
everyone.
assemblyman, William Bill Spearman, who is on his way. He should be reaching us shortly. I got 3 people in my waiting room. Hold on. And one of them is Assemblyman Spearman. Okay. Assemblyman Spearman, who was also one of our guests. Commissioner Jonathan Young. Councilman Chris Collins. Vice President of Camden City School Board, Namdi Nelson. Captain Vivian Coley, Executive to the Chief. And I had my daughter, Ransha Dickerson, who was going to speak to you on some things that CPU are doing. And she was called away on a doula emergency. So doulas are the people that help babies get into the world. So that's where she's going. And maybe she'll be able to join us later. I want to thank all of my colleagues from Parkside Business and Community and Partnership, our CEO, Bridget Pfeiffer, Asha Anderson, looking just to see who's here. And okay, that's our people so far. I want to also thank CCPD, Baker, and Wilkes for always being a part of our conversations. So
I have
let's
a
get right
question.
to it.
I have a question.
Yes,
Did
sir.
you, did you think Albie Shore? Is that Albie Shore or Mayor Vic Karstafen? I'm looking at his picture.
I got you, Councilman. I got
Oh
you.
my God. See, now you made everybody look at him twice. That's so crazy. That's crazy. I love it. All right. So, in the order that I have been taught, the mayor always gets to speak first. This is his city. We are his constituents. That's how we roll. So, Mayor, I would like to open the floor to you now. To the audience, I have asked you that if you want to raise your hand to ask a question, please do so in the chat so that way I can recognize you and make sure that everybody gets a fair shot. This is not a long conversation. We're just going to have chats about various things. I want to open the floor with the mayor about what he's doing and what he's done in his 100 days and where he's going with this, because this right here is kind of phenomenal in its own way. So, Mayor, go ahead with that.
Thank you, Sheila and PBCIP. Thank everybody for coming together. And, it's always good. It's our first time, like you said, since June. So it's good to see so many familiar faces that fortunately I get a chance to see throughout the community when we're all out there playing our part. So as Ms. Green, Sheila said, my 100 days plan, actually 100 days was about a week ago. And, we've been doing and implementing and pushing towards touching on a lot of different issues that I've had, and to name a few. One of it was our cleanup program. We've been, I've been trying to create an organic approach with cleaning up campaigns, towing abandoned vehicles that are in dire straits, just been sitting around our community, attacking illegal dumping issues, like the issue we've been dealing with, and going full speed ahead on Chestnut Street, and working with our PD and our DPW with creating more avenues of security in certain areas for that. We've had some good things starting to go on, programming that we're trying to create for our youth. Our ARP money funding is in, and I will be implementing a good portion of that to our youth services, mental health services, and taking some good feedback on how can the community and some stakeholders help in that avenue. The vaccination shots, I've been strong with just being out in the community and having the tough conversations and messaging how I feel it's important that our community gets a vaccine shot to fight against this pandemic, and that we dealt with last year, and the new Delta variant, COVID. That's just been something that we've touched on within my 100 days, and a lot of different partners and organizations have come together with pop-up vaccine shots areas, and just getting into the community. Some of you may have seen me getting out my bullhorn and doing things, just trying to create conversation and get our community to really speak on some issues. One thing I like to do is just get out and engage with our community, and with the help of different colleagues that are on this call, we've been able to just do certain things of that nature. Also dealing with our small business and working with the CBA and organizations that nature. Getting
Froze.
Well, that happens when you're in the car. We'll give it a second.
And,
There you go.
And it's just been, we've been hitting the ground running. I want to thank everybody involved with, just Team Camden. There's a lot of people on this call that are a part of that, just trying to make our city a better city and working together. I can't do everything, and I'm happy that I have so many individuals that play a part in filling in the gaps in our city. So thank everybody, that's on this call. I'm always available to talk. So if anybody on this call ever wants to speak with me, you reach out. Not hard to get in touch with. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. And he is not telling you any kind of fictitious story. You can call him. He'll answer the phone anytime, day or night, so just make sure you reach out to his office. He's got a fully trained staff that's willing to listen, to take your calls, to hear your complaints about whatever it is that's going on. The mayor can't do his job if he doesn't know what's going on in his own city. And we're his eyes and ears. So we have to let him know what it is that's going on. And we thank him so much for his time. Look forward to seeing you at the cleanup on October 13th.
No doubt about it. I'll be there.
All right. Take care. Thank you again.
Thank you, Sheila, for
Bye-bye.
all that you do in our community. Much appreciated. Good to have you as a strong partner. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. No problem. So we segue from the city to the state. Let's just fly across and let's go all the way over and talk to our lawmaker, Assemblyman Spearman, who's always ready. He's got something to bring good. He knows something new, and he's going to make sure you know it. So Assemblyman, what's going on? How's it going?
Well, things are going well. We're just focusing on, my focus lately has been on two things. One, jobs, and the second thing is after school programs. So I think the last time I sat down with you guys and talked, I was working on a program called Safe Haven, a bill called the Safe Haven Bill, which would allow the Camden Board of Education to partner with nonprofits, churches, and municipalities in throughout the state. Well, actually, at the time, it was a pilot program. So for Camden, Trenton, Newark, Patterson, and Passaic, and basically allowed them to partner with these organizations, nonprofits, community organizations, the municipalities, and the churches to create after-school programs, very similar to our after-school athletic programs or our after-school band programs. But not all kids are athletes. Not all kids are in the band. So this would allow the Board of Education to partner to create programs to serve a wider range of our kids so we can keep them busy after school so they're not in the street and becoming victims of criminals. So that bill passed the Assembly. And a funny thing happened when I sat down, when the Legislative Black Caucus sat down with the Speaker of the House, the Speaker of the Assembly, and the Senate President. I introduced the bill to the Senate President, and the Senate President said, well, wait a minute. How come it's only for Camden, Trenton, Newark, Patterson, and Passaic? What about Atlantic City? What about Vineland? Senator Singleton said, what about Willingboro? So they want this bill to be statewide. So this program has now, when it goes through the Senate sponsor, Senator Nilsa Cruz Perez, is going to change it so that it applies to all municipalities throughout the state. And every Board of Education will be able to work with their churches, municipalities, and nonprofits to create after-school programs so that no kid is left on the street by themselves between the hours of 3:30 and 6 o'clock. So that's a good thing. The other thing that just happened is the New Jersey Business and Industry Association, NJBIA, has become very interested in making sure in getting more employees for businesses. As you may have heard, businesses are having a really hard time finding employees. So we have a number of people who are ready to work, but may not have the appropriate skills to take these positions. So NJBIA has created a partnership with the county colleges so that they'll tell the county colleges what skills they need employees to have. The county colleges will train them, and when they get a certificate, the businesses will hire them, which is a big difference from what we've had in the past. Many times you can get a degree or a certificate and then there's no job. But this way, the businesses will actually be telling the county colleges what they need, and then the county colleges will be training them and providing them with the skills that the businesses will need, and then hiring everybody who finishes the program. So that is going well. And so those are the two things I've been most focused on. And I'm here to listen and take any questions and see what I can do for the rest of the community.
Wow, that's a lot. I mean, with the county colleges working with, the businesses and working to get the right skill sets to the people that would like to learn something new, especially now where, jobs are like plentiful, but people don't have the skill set to go. And now they have a program that will do everything in one. Is basically they'll train them and they'll be hired and they don't have to worry about it. This is awesome. Anyone has a question for the Assemblyman regarding this or something else that they would like to talk to him about that's within state legislation or it's in the state legislative districts, please raise your hand so that I can call on you. And please open up your microphones on your side. So I'm looking to see. I love technology. Okay. So I would like to ask a question regarding the after school program. So since it's going to go statewide, okay, would it all have to come under the same guidelines for each municipality, or would it be based on the individual municipalities?
It would be driven by the local boards of education and the partnerships that they establish with the local churches, community groups, or nonprofits. I'll be specific. Let's focus on Camden. In Camden, the Board of Education would be able to partner with the city of Camden to create after-school programs in the different community centers. For instance, some of our community centers may not have facilities that are up to the standards that are required of all educational facilities. Mm-hmm. This bill would allow the board to bring those facilities up to that standard that all of our schools have to have. So, and they would also have to have employees who are approved by the Board of Education that would staff those facilities. Okay. So let's just take the Martin Luther King Center on Haddon Avenue. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure, if let's just say, and I'm not sure what's there now, so don't get me wrong, but let's just say in order for the Martin Luther King Center to be ready to host an after school program, and they needed new big screens and they needed new Wi-Fi, the Board of Education would be able to make those improvements to the center and then be reimbursed by the state. And then the state would be reimbursed from COVID money. That's the way this bill works. Okay, so there's no tax dollars involved in this at all. It's basically, it's COVID money. It's COVID that money. Would bring, and then the important thing is we need to bring these facilities, get them up and running now with COVID dollars before they run out, because in another couple of years, they're not going to be there. And then it would be up to the nonprofits and the municipalities and the religious organizations, the churches, to kind of pick up the ball and raise the money to keep the program going. Okay. All right. So as things go and they progress, you can probably keep us abreast on how the budget is going, where the COVID monies are, how they're being spent, and how far we can go before we have to start looking at coming out of our own pocket here in New Jersey. So we just want to, it's going well so far. We have a nice budget right now, but we just want to spend the money wisely so that everybody gets a fair shot of it across the whole entire state, but especially in the states and the municipalities of need. So this is very good. This is excellent. And if there's any questions, I'm still looking for hands. I don't see any hands raised. Well, the Assemblyman, he has an office, and his office is, you can get it. He has a Woodbury office as well as a Camden office. So you can, find out any more from him, from his staff. They're very mindful of all of what he's doing. And that way you can be abreast of it. I can put his website in there in a few minutes as we go along. But right now, I'm going to move forward as we're getting into more time. It's 6:30. And I'm going to go back to the county. So I'm going to go to the commissioner. Commissioner John Young, how are you tonight?
I am doing well. How are you, Ms. Green?
I'm doing really, really well. And I really thank you for coming on. You're my go-to guy. So I just love when you come on. So I don't have a whole lot to ask you, but the county has stuff that's going on that you know about, and I'm sure. So why don't you share with us what's going on?
Sure. So thanks for having me, everyone. It's always good to come out and report out on what the county is doing. So our round of ARP money, we've we're going to be receiving $98 million from the feds to come down to us. And believe it or not, it's kind of hard to spend $98 million. Most people, you could probably spend it. So, what we're doing is we're giving it back as much as we possibly can to the folks here. So what we've done is we rolled out a couple of different programs. We brought back the Renters Assistance Program. So we're going to be able to go back into March of 20 up until the present now, and we will make sure that your rent is paid for those folks who have been affected by COVID. Along with that, the additional thing that we're doing that we didn't do the first round is we're including your utilities in that as well. So your gas, electric, water, sewer, trash, or any costs, and some internet services. If you had to do homeschooling and you had to get Wi-Fi or internet service because of that system, we will actually pay for that internet service for you as well. So it's a real good way for us to make sure that folks are being able to stay in their house even after the moratorium gets lifted here. The landlords got it to agree to waive all fees and penalties. And basically how it works is you guys will put in an application, and then what we'll do is we will then pay directly to the landlord that portion of the rent. So that way there your slate is clean, and you can feel comfortable. Second thing we did, we put another $10 million into our small business grant program. And this here is going to go, let me see here. You got to be your business got to make less than $5 million, 25 or less people, and you've been affected by COVID, of course. And then the applicants are sole proprietors, partnerships, corporations, and nonprofits, LLCs. And basically, if you're a new person, you will receive priority getting your grants processed. If you had already received a grant the first round, you will receive 50% of the amount of the grant you received the first time. So we can give you up until $10,000. So if you receive $10,000 the max the first time, the most you can get this time here is a $5,000 grant, $5,000 grant. So we are allowing people to apply again who applied the first time. They'll just get 50% of what they got last time. So this way here, you're actually able to keep it moving. And let me back up real quick. The first one for the rental assistance, you can go to www.camdenrentgrant.com is the number for that one. And the deadline on that is October 30th for the rental assistance. And for the small business grants, you can go to www.camdencountyrecovers.com. And we just added a third one where we're going to allow nonprofits to apply as well. And these grants here will be applied up to $500,000 a nonprofit can be able to get. Some of the things that I oversee the WIB board. So in some of our WIB, we have a lot of the nonprofits that are operating, and being as though they started to, under the COVID restrictions, no one was allowed to go in. They couldn't see in person. So a lot of the nonprofits are really struggling because they can't get clients to come through the door. So this will kind of help some of those nonprofits be able to keep their doors open and really get some funds going in there. So this one here, you can go to www.camdencountycommunitygrant.com, and all proposals for this are due November 30th of 2021. So there are 3 new programs that we have coming. And as you apply for these grants, we've actually had our third-party vendor speed the process up. So this money is not sitting, sitting stagnant. As soon as the applications are coming in, they're reading them, they're approving them, and they're getting them right out the door so the folks can have an immediate result. So that's pretty much what we have going right now. We are going to open up a new center, a new site for booster shots. We're going to be doing that. We're going to continue to do pop-up booster sites throughout. Numbers through the African American community itself are kind of down, so we're looking for some of our community leaders. We found out, actually, we take a page out of the mayor's book, and we're really finding that personal touch, that interaction, that coming to you mentality is starting to raise the numbers of folks getting vaccinated. So the pop-up, or not the pop-up, the new site is going to be, we're going to do testing, we're going to do booster shots, we're going to do full shots. I believe we're going to be doing some flu shots in there. So we're going to call it, it's going to be a pop-up medical hub is actually what it's going to be. And you'll be able to come in and have a full round of anything COVID that you pretty much will need to get us through this next round here. So that's all I have for right now. So any questions?
Commissioner, can you give the rental assistant website again?
It is www.camdenrentgrant.com. And the deadline for that is October 30th. And if anyone is having any, should even put my office number up in the chat if you can, and my email information. If anyone knows of anybody who's applying for it and for some reason it's not hearing back or something might be wrong, reach out to me, give me a call, and we can see if we can't get it moving and find out exactly what's wrong with it. But it's for the most part, it has been a smooth operation.
Okay, that's awesome. We will get this information into the chat before the night is over. I'm working on all of that at the same time. So, Commissioner, thank you so much. I mean, 98 million is a lot to spend, and you just can't do it all in one day. And for it to be used for the things that are in need right now, especially, rent and utilities, this is a thing that, Camden County does, always making sure that people are where they need to be. The state does its part, county does its part, the city does its part. We all work together, and thank God the feds are on our side for a change. So with that being said, we're going to move right along, and thank you very much again to Councilman Chris Collins. I know I got 2 deadlines, like 7 o'clock. So you and Mr. Nelson are sharing a 15-minute spot. So I just need you to be in the same place at the same time, okay?
Well,
So we can make sure everybody's okay. Thank you.
Fine. I only need 14 minutes. I'll be quick. Well, first of all, thank you, Sheila and PBCIP, and thank you to Assemblyman Spearman and Commissioner John Young. It's certainly an honor and a pleasure to be able to be on this call and to represent the 2nd Ward as the city councilman. It's been a little over 120 days for me serving in this position. And what I discovered early is that being on council is more than just sitting at a council meeting, casting a vote whether or not someone gets a contract. It's about the everyday calls that come in. And I'm glad to see Miss Kiana Roman on. I met her because she called the office with a concern, and we were able to meet her demand, her issue. And as a result, when I get a call, I don't just call back, but I pride myself on getting out to meet the person as well as to try to develop a relationship. And as a result, Miss Roman became the block captain, and she also is now part of, very active with the PBCIP community. In this role of council, we have some common denominators that are some issues in our ward. One is the handicap parking. People are not respecting those that are handicapped. And one of the issues is if you apply for handicap parking, and we have to come out and paint the curb blue, your house is only 13 feet wide, but the law says it must be painted 22 feet. So automatically it's going to cross over your neighbor's property line. And your neighbor feel that I'm parking in front of my house, but unfortunately it's now in a handicap zone and they can't. Some people are going as far as putting cones down to save their parking spot and putting trash cans out to save their parking spots. And that's a violation. We can't do that here in the city of Camden. So we're working on an initiative with Camden County Metro to do some flyers and put out in certain areas so that the community would learn to just try to respect people's handicap situations. We've been very successful working with Director Keith Walker with the Camden Department of Public Works, as well as Chief Carr with Code Enforcement. We've gotten calls from Langham Avenue, Jackson Street, Magnolia, where people have issues with vacant properties with the grass that has grown into trees and all kind of rodents and things. We were able to clear most of that stuff out. The beauty of being a city councilman is that God has given me favor that when I call the director, they usually make it a priority and they get out to take care of their needs. We've been having a real good time with the community cleanups, supporting the vision of our mayor, Vic Karstafen. Today we were in East Camden. We spent time in every neighborhood. A week ago, we were in Centerville at the Robert Johnson Park doing a cleanup, and that's been it's been real good. On the 23rd, we're gonna take the cleanup into Evergreen Cemetery and do our part to help keep that clean. We've done some food drives throughout the neighborhoods. We in Farnham Park, we had 50,000 pounds of food that we gave away to the community in collaboration with Parkside Business Community and Partnership, Bell Pharmacy, and Al Surge, who brings the trucks down. So we're thankful for that. We know we have some homelessness issues in the second ward. We've been working with the bridge under 676 to keep that clean. We were out there today keeping it clean, but they also are my constituents. So I have a rapport with the individuals that's out there, and when they have issues, they will call me. We've had some issues with squatters. We were successful in finding resources through Camden County OEO to help some of the squatting situation, find housing for some, and it's been good. So I'm very grateful for the collaborations with the Assemblyman's office as well as the Commissioner's office. We're working to come up with something so that we can do some improvements to Farnham Park across from Camden High School. We do thank Mr. Guy Rozier and the Camden County Department of Public Works because they've been very active every day in that park, keeping it clean. There's some things that I'm proud of as the second ward councilman. One in particular was we were able to, through some partnerships, bless Whitman Park with a $4.6 million grant to completely redo that ball field. Let us not forget, as the commissioner just said, our Congressman Donald Norcross was able to secure us $15 million for rental assistance a few months ago. And the mayor last week just made a big announcement with the Camden Health and Athletic Association supporting all the independent organizations as well. So the big thing that we're working on as we speak, we launched an initiative on Saturday that until October 31st, Camden for Haiti Relief. We have a pretty good sized Haitian community in Camden, approximately about 300 Haitians. I didn't know that, but it was brought to our attention and we're in full support. we have the water tower at Whitman Square, Lewis and Everett Street, where we're storing items for the next 30 days to be shipped over to Haiti. So we encourage everyone Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 10 to 6, Saturday from 9 to 12. That water tower is open for you to bring your donations. And what I would like to do, because many of us are not aware that we have a Haitian community, I will talk to my colleagues in council and see if in the city of Camden that we can designate May 18th as Haitian Flag Day. That is the official flag raising day for the Haitian community around the world, and we would like to be part of that as well. So thank you for your time.
Councilman, thank you so much. That's a lot. I mean, second ward is not small, but that's a lot. So the Haitian thing is really important to, all of us. And, and that segue, I'm also going to, reach out and say that we are also in celebration of the Hispanic, month. This is Hispanic History Month, so this is a time for all of this to come together, where we all come together, because we have to look at, there's been a lot of ecological situations that's going on around the world that's affecting various parts of the world. No matter what color or race or creed they are, it's still affecting them. And we as groups should come together to support those that are in need, just like when we are in need, someone comes to support us. So I think that would be something that would be really awesome for everybody to be a part of, to be a part of the Haitian Relief Information. Councilman, if you could make sure that that's in the chat where we can know exactly what to do, whether or not it's a, cash donation, are you looking for food donations, water donations, diapers, what are you looking for, so we know exactly what to do, because you don't want to send things that they can't use.
Yeah, we will definitely do that. And one last thing I did forget, our goal in the city of Camden was to have a 70% vaccination rate for our residents. And through the efforts of the mayor with the vaccine parade and Bell Pharmacy and Cam Care, I believe that we have met that goal, or we're very close to it.
Excellent. Absolutely excellent. That's excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time. I'm going to now segue right over to Vice President Nnamdi Nelson so that he can have his time, because he's short on time tonight too. Thank you so much for joining us, and get right to it. Speak your piece.
So thank you. Welcome. Thank you to everybody who spoke before me. Thank you, PBCIP, for having me this evening. So I did see Sheree and Brian on. It looks like they may have left the call. I'm not sure. I know there were a couple things in reference to mask mandate, things around COVID, where I wanted to defer to the school administration so that they could speak to any specifics. So I'm Nnamdi Nelson. I'm the vice president of the Camden City School Board. Just coming today, I guess, just to share some things. I think the school board is a very important position, but out of school board, council, and mayor, it is the only position that's volunteer. So I wanted to just give a shout out to all the school board members, just for their time and their dedication. I think often, we think of, just like Councilman Collins spoke about, it's more than just showing up for the monthly board meetings. There's something going on several times throughout the week. As school opened back up, a lot of the school members joined the superintendent with touring the schools. So as we went through the schools, we were able to see that all our schools that we went through was prepared for the first day, had the proper PPE, teachers, students had masks on, and people were learning on the first and second days. So, it says a lot, just to our staff, our school administration, with such challenging times of COVID, that they were still getting things done. Along with, just doing tours throughout the city, we've also started committees, and last night's board meeting was the first time we actually started reporting out. This is not the first time we started committees, but it is the first time that we're reporting out, at least in my period of time on the school board. This is my third year getting ready to finish this term. And often you hear the community speak about the board members and either people not speaking up or not getting information. And sometimes it's difficult just because a lot of times, the work that we do, a lot of times is not things that's always announced. So with our committees, I'm personally on the Finance and Operations Committee. We also have a Teaching, Learning, and Student Support Committee, as well as a Policy and Governance Committee. So at least this way, any concerns that the board members have, anything that's shared to from the community to board members, this is their opportunity to speak to the school administration, to collectively, speak on different issues, come up with solutions, and then be able to report out at our school board meetings. And like I said, yesterday evening was the first time that we reported out on our committees. And I hope that was something that was beneficial as well as helpful to the community. Just so everybody knows, because again, we don't always know the behind the scenes. There's a lot of school board members that work, hard, just whether it's communicating with the superintendent, sharing concerns of the community. I know just recently one of our board members went through one of our schools and noticed some things that, they felt was out of place and was able to share that with the superintendent and the operations director to, resolve some of those issues. The school board members, definitely have a voice. We are an advisory board. So therefore, we are not over the superintendent and cannot tell the superintendent what to do. But I feel like we have pretty good relationships, and the superintendent is open to listening to our concerns, and it allows for open communication. So whereas you may not see this at a board meeting, this is something that's done every day. And I can, attest that there's many board members that speak up on behalf of the community. For myself, I kind of go back and forth at times because again, we want to give the community as much information as possible. But when people come to me individually for different issues or concerns, for me to come to a board meeting and say, hey, I just resolved Councilman Collins' problem, I feel like I'm not focused on my job. I'm more focused on saying what I did. So often, the work is said, through the people that we serve. So, that being said, I encourage community to speak to board members, to build relationships. I feel like you have many board members that's in the community, that's doing different things, whether they have organizations, whether they're at events, community members. Share your issues and your concerns. The board members will make sure it gets back to the superintendent. Also, with that being said, board members, I think a lot of times people think that we have more power or we're supposed to be doing different things. We have one staff member, and that's the superintendent. We have to make sure we abide by guidelines. And I think one of the biggest things for board members has been and will continue to be just to learn what our roles exactly are. What exactly is the board members' roles? Because sometimes, while trying to help, you can hurt a situation. So, you got to be mindful of speaking to staff when staff just approach you, and, how to appropriately direct the staff, to their superiors or to their leadership. And often, just wanting to help, sometimes you don't think about those things. Also, I just want to make it clear, just because you don't hear about it at the board meeting from a board member does not mean it's not something that's discussed. Some things we can speak about openly, some things we aren't able to, but it doesn't mean that it's not something that's being addressed. It also doesn't mean that, hey, the board members are just going along with the flow of what's being said. Again, I can tell you that you have a lot of board members that speak up, a lot of board members that speak on behalf of the residents, and a lot of board members that, hold the school administration accountable, but also work collectively, with the school board. So I'll hold up and see if there's any questions, anything that needs clarity, and just give any feedback of anything that I may have not mentioned.
Well, thank you, Vice President Nelson. Thank you very much, Namdi, to me. If there are any questions, please raise your hand in the chat so I can recognize you. I'm looking now. I see in the chat. Okay, that's Haitian relief information. Okay, Councilman Collins.
Yeah, I just want to give an acknowledgement and a special thank you to Officer Baker, because she's certainly a rock star. She's everywhere that we are, in more places. We get the text messages when there's issues going on. She's a diehard, man. She certainly represent Camden on the highest level. We love her.
That's awesome. AJ, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Ms. Sheila. Just a quick question, I guess more so to Namdi. I know that, you know, if you're in the social media or if you're not as connected to Camden High, there's been a lot of talk, a lot of issues that have come up. And because I work closely with Big Picture, that they're doing just fine. So I guess my question is two-part. One, have you heard the concerns, and is there an ongoing plan or something being put together to kind of help? And the second is it just Camden High, or is it the other schools that are also in the complex?
Sure. So thank you for that question. So there was some conversation. So I have heard some things, and there was some conversation and some things that the superintendent spoke on yesterday evening. So first, I don't believe it's just Camden High. I do think the focus is on Camden High, just one, because it is a new facility, and Camden High is the hot name. But also, I do think there are several issues also with Camden High, because right now, presently, Camden High's enrollment is higher than what's expected, what was expected, as well as Camden High has the highest enrollment out of Big Picture Learning, medical arts, and creative arts. So don't quote me on the number, but I believe Camden High's numbers were somewhere between 430 and 450. I think, which was stated yesterday, and maybe the closest to that is maybe about 220. So Camden High is definitely doubled in numbers. So therefore, some of the staffing situations, also there was a change in leadership, looking for a permanent principal, but presently Commissioner Al Dyer is the acting principal. So there were some changes made. There has been talk in reference to security. I know initially 2 officers were slated, whereas now I believe 5 officers, as we were informed yesterday, has been slated for Camden High. Also, there's been some conversations just about mental health and calming rooms and just social support from parents, but also the school presented on that yesterday as well, and are looking to implement some mental health programs, some calming room, some social supports, not only just coming back from COVID and the transition back into the school buildings, but also, just kids being around each other again. There was a conversation or, some concerns about fights. I don't think the fights are just Camden High. We know every school has fights, but, again, there has been some altercations. I believe the security and operations have identified that, and they're working to, make the necessary changes. Did I answer all of your question? If not, please let me know what I missed out on.
No, that's fine. Thank you.
You're welcome.
AJ, if you like, you can always, send an email to him. That way he can address the question directly, through the email. So that'll help out too. I see Kiana's hand is raised. Hi, Kiana. How are you? I'm gonna say it while I got an opportunity. Kiana, just like Councilman said, she came on board and she became a PBCIP member. She had wanted to volunteer to be one of our Pride Captains, and she's very active in the community. We welcome your energy. We welcome what you want. We welcome what you're doing, and happy Hispanic Month to you as well. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Sheila. I just had a quick question while we were on the topic of Camden High. I particularly don't have children who attend there, but I have had some issues with around the time that they're being dismissed, where there have been a couple occasions where kids will jump out into oncoming traffic. And this was a huge concern of mine. I actually had to reach out to the Stop It app, just because the last time I saw it happen, there was a police car there. And I'm just not sure who's taking care of it, if any other parents have raised this concern. I mean, it's pretty dangerous.
Sure. So thank you, Kiana, for that. So also, hello, Kiana. How are you? I think I've known Kiana for a long period of time now, and she does great work. So I'm glad to see that you've joined a good organization. So I know this was also a conversation, just more supports just in general. So there's a shortage of crossing guards. I know that, we're working on crossing guards. Also, I know the superintendent has been in direct contact with Chief Gabe. And I also know that the officers are spread thin, where they're pretty much at most of our schools in the city. But I know they're working on plans to assist with the let out of schools as well. And I also know that there's been some conversation about safe corridors. I know that won't happen overnight, but I know I briefly spoke to the mayor and the superintendent and President Wasim, which I know in turn, if we can get safe corridors up and running again, will assist with, the let out of school and just having more presence, because it is an issue and it is a concern, a safety concern, and we want to be more preventative, and we want to make sure we can address these concerns before something serious happens. So just to answer your question, we are aware there are things in the works. Unfortunately, due to staffing and just availability, some things, haven't been able to happen right away, but it is something that's on the superintendent's radar.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And let me see if there are any other hands up. Assemblyman Spearman.
Yeah, I forgot to mention, the Attorney General is working with the prosecutor, Camden County Metro, and the city of Camden and the Sheriff's Department to have a gun buyback on October 16th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Antioch Baptist Church. So that's pretty important. So if you know people who have guns, get them to turn them in.
And Assemblyman, what was that date again?
That's October. October 23rd, Saturday, October 23rd at Antioch Baptist Church. And I think it's from 10 to 4.
Okay, so it's just, if you have a gun, you bring a gun and they give you something.
Money.
It's money. Okay, that's what everybody wants anyway. So that'll work. Thank you so much for that information. If there are no more questions for Vice President Nelson.
And real quick, just in closing, I want to say two quick things real fast.
Okay.
One, I know this was mentioned last night as well at the school board meeting. We had a football game, Camden High football game last week, and there were some fights, after the game. That was pretty bad. Our kids just real disrespectful to security guards, to police officers. Some changes have been made since then. The school board has decided to not have any night games. They will be on Saturday during the day. Also, there will be IDs checked. Also, there will be a limit or a certain number put on each game for crowd control. So there have been some things that have been implemented to hopefully help avoid what took place last Friday. And just in closing, because there's a lot of things for us to do, us to work on, and us to improve in. But this was also mentioned last night. It's a collective effort. And it's important that we continue to send that message. It's important that, we have parents and guardians understand that we need their help as well. Our generation today is different. I know they're struggling and they're challenged with a lot, but hearing the stories of, how disrespectful they were being, our kids were being to police officers, trying to go around them and, punch and fight other people. And I believe Officer Baker was there, so she can attest to it and speak to some of these things that were taking place. We have to do something different. We have to do something more, just to kind of change, just the thought process, and the mindset of our youth, our young adults, especially looking at them as our future. So I just encourage community. It's easy to hold other people accountable, but to be a part of the solution and step up and take ownership as well is going to be key, because we have a lot of work to do. So on that note, thank you. I appreciate everyone's time. And if there's no other questions for me at this time, then I'll stop my piece. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice President Nelson. We look, when it comes from the heart, it's what it's supposed to be. And we have to understand, that all of what people are, I guess, geared to do, they've been actually charged to do. It's not an easy charge. It's not easy. You got to go through the whole process and everything. You got to go through the whole motion. So if we all look at each other as just being equal, like being just human, and deal with that, we can all get through this thing together. And I believe that the solutions will come and people will have better, changes that they actually need to see happen. So I thank you so much for all of that. I thank all of my speakers tonight so far. I just want to read something that came from Rasha Dickerson, my daughter. She's in the process of doing something else, but she wanted to just send this information. She said, thank you to all partners at PBCIP for making our first annual Education Justice Celebration of the 17 Camden City Traditional Public Schools that took place last Saturday a success. This happened at the Little Rock Baptist Church on Kenwood Avenue. Vice President Nelson was there as well. Tomorrow, 9:30 at 7 p.m., join CPU virtually for a parent discussion about Camden Public Schools. The information I'm going to put in the chat when I get a second. Saturday, also on the 16th at 2 p.m., join Camden's first annual Vegan and Plant-Based Food Festival at Northeast Delaware Avenue and Cooper Street. Okay. And then on Thursday, October 21st, at 7 p.m., join Camden Parents Union, I Dare to Care, and Community Doulas of South Jersey in a discussion on biopic communities, vaccinations, and stay tuned for location. So I'm gonna try to fit all of this in the chat and see if we can get all of this information to everybody before we leave. Okay, it is now a little after 7. I have to do a couple of PSAs and then I can move on to our next guest, which is going to be Camden County Police Department. Now,
Sheila,
sir.
I just wanted to add to Brother Namdi that we did receive a phone call from one of the neighbors that live on Park Boulevard and his concerns with the football games and with some of the fighting. But as a result, in talking with Captain Kersey from the Metro, there was an increase in police presence for the games. So our resident has been heard.
Okay. And this is the way we're supposed to do business in Camden. I mean, resident calls, you're supposed to respond. That's what our elected leaders do. That's what they're supposed to do. And we appreciate the fact that, it's now being done the way that we were taught how to do it. As we go forward, I want to just do some shout outs to people that I can see. I see Tracy Cooper. I see AJ Riggs. I see Joey Rodriguez of American Water. That's my standby dude. He's always there. I see our favorite person, our, I always mess with her when I say this, but Michelle is one of my favorite people. She just don't know it. However, you know, she's always there for us. And I just want to say a shout out. Hi, Michelle, how you doing? We go on. I see our Sergeant Kevin Wilkes is going to be speaking to us. I see Jordan. I see Marion Jones. I see Christina Barnes and Isaiah Rivera. Isaiah works for the Assemblyman's office. Oh my God, it's a story behind that. I also see Miss Latanya Brooks. I see Patricia. I see Ronald Corbett's phone, Ebony Henson. I see A. Johnson and Nala and Mom. Let's see, who else do I see? Officer Baker, of course. And I think I covered everybody. And if I didn't, I see Rayleigh's phone. Okay, that's, oh, I know who that is, Arle's phone. Hey, Arle, that's blowing smoke on Haddon Avenue. Yeah, this is cool. This is real cool. All right, on my PSAs. Okay, real quick. So PSA's membership, Parkside Business and Community and Partnership is a membership-based organization, nonprofit. And currently we are established 98 members as of 9/27/21, with our goal of having 100 members by the 1st of November. So we're going to break this with no problem. Our lighting project that started 3 years ago, I am glad to report, is going forward. It was read in City Council on 9/7/21. And the county engineer and the superintendent that's running this particular program indicated that the project would start fully in 2022. I am not going to stop until the lights are on in Camden and the lights are on in Parkside first, because that's what we asked for and that's what we're going to get. Also, I'm also glad to see that CCPD is stepping up and pulling people over because they're speeding. They're also, you know, getting them for having expired tags and other things that they are breaking laws over. So we should be respectful, okay, of all of those things. I also want to look at the fact that in the summer we had four actually, really nice events. National Night Out. We thank everybody for coming. CCPD was awesome. It was their night. We gave it to them. We wanted you to have it, and it worked out well. Our little block party that was on the 1900 block of Park Boulevard. We enjoyed it. It was a good day. We just had a lot of good food. Thank you, Blowing Smoke, for, you know, a lot of dinners. And we had our pop-up on the 18th of September, which went exceptionally well. We thank all of our guests that's here tonight who were there on Saturday last. And prior to that, on 9/11, we had the reopening of the Camden County Historical Society, which went very well as well. With our new exhibits, the Negro League that's upstairs in our auditorium, the music room, it's now the music room downstairs in our FM museum, and the Native American exhibit that's in the actual museum itself. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, it is open to go in. Masks are required. If you're not a member, speak to someone at the office and they will tell you all of what you have to do. I also wanted to take one more minute to just read this very, very quickly. For every month that we have something, we always have to give homage to it. So when we have Black History Month, I give homage to Black history because it's a part of me. But so is Hispanic history. That's a part of me too. So I want to read what I learned. Hispanic History Month began as Hispanic Heritage Week. Hispanic Week was established by legislation sponsored by Representative of Los Angeles and was signed into law by President Lyndon Johnson in 1968. In 1968, the commemorative week was expanded to a month from September 15th to October 15th by legislation sponsored by Representative Pico Rivera. Amended by another senator and signed into law by President Ronald Reagan, and September 15th was chosen as a starting point for the commemoration because it is the anniversary of the Cry of Dolores, okay? Early morning, 16 September 1810, which marks the start of the Mexican War of Independence, and thus resulted in 1821 in independence for New Spain, colony now, Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, El Salvador, Costa Rica, Honduras, and Nicaragua. And Mexico, Chile, and Belize commemorate their independence from Spain on September 16th, September 18th, and September 21st, respectively. Hispanic History Week was proclaimed by President Johnson in '68, a presidential proclamation 3869 by Presidents Nixon, Ford, Carter, Reagan gave their proclamations for Hispanic History Week in 1969 through 1968. On September 14, 1989, the presidential proclamation 6021 was given. And since 1989, all presidents have given presidential proclamation to mark Hispanic History Month. So when we don't know, we don't know. But when we learn, now we know. So I think that, this is very important to all of us because it's a lot more to that. That's just a short version. And as we grow older and grow wiser, we will learn more about the various components of who we are as people, because, it doesn't really matter where we come from. We're all still in where we are together. So now I'd like to move over to our CCPD. We have been doing a lot of things. I want to give a shout out before I do that to DPW, which is not even on the line tonight. DPW has been working tirelessly all over the city. I've seen them in Parkside more than I've seen them anywhere else, but they're all over the city. And I thank them so very much for the hard work that they're doing. Our alleys are clean. If we had a great big pile of mess over on the 1100 block of Empire Avenue. It looked like a third world country. It was terrible, but they cleaned it. It's gone. So these are the things that we need to give shout outs for, as well as, the fact that our CCPD is on spot. They're in our neighborhood. They're driving through our alleys now that are clean. They're coming to the doors and knocking on the doors and checking on you. Officer Baker checks on me weekly. I just thought I'd throw that out there real quick. So, but with all of that being said, I want to open to Sergeant Wilkes because he's going to talk to us a little bit about the hiring program and some other things. And then he's going to turn it over to Officer Baker, who's going to talk to us about the Stop It app, how we should use it, why we should use it, and the benefits thereof. So Sergeant Wilkes, are you there?
I sure am, Sheila.
How you doing, Kev?
I'm doing very well. How about you?
Good.
All right. Hi, everybody. If you don't know me already, I'm Sergeant Wilkes. I'm work for the Community Outreach Unit in the Camden Police Department. I am a 31-year veteran of the police department. I'm obviously from Camden. Well, not obviously, but people that know me know I'm from Camden. We started this Community Outreach Unit years ago. We've pretty much started back in the day. It was Lieutenant James when it was Lieutenant James. Then it went to myself and Sergeant Levy. Now we're up to 8 officers and 2 sergeants, and we have a new captain now, which is Captain Coley, and a new lieutenant. Unfortunately, we had Lieutenant Watkins for a while, but people get promoted and transferred in this business a lot. So this should be what we're going to have for a good time being. The officers that we have, the captains and the staff that we have now. Of course, we have Officer Baker and Officer Smith, Officer Hayward and Officer McPherson, who, mostly do the south side. And then we have the other officers that do the north side of Camden. But all the officers from time to time, you'll see them at all the events whenever we have them, because we don't just pick sides. Obviously, we're all Camden, so all of us attend in some way, shape, or form. We just had we still have a hiring drive going on in the police department. Normally, when you go to try to be a full-time officer or a what they call SLEA, law enforcement officer, which they're still officers, but they have half the time in the academy, and they're basically like part-time officers. So in the beginning, they get hired, they go half the time in the academy, and then they don't do full academy, they do part of it. And then when they get out, they work for us part-time. And, when they go back and forth to work, they turn their guns in, but they're still officers, they're still sworn. They still, obviously can take care of what we need them to take care of as far as the laws go. And then we have a SLEO 1, which are not armed officers, but you'll see them downtown. You'll see them like directing traffic downtown, and you'll see them at the transportation center. I'm sure a lot of people down there see a lot of those officers down there, and they're helping the people keep moving downtown and directing traffic, make sure the kids and elderly gets across the streets without being, obviously hit by a car or anything. That's what we use them for. We also use them around the buildings if we need stuff too. Well, we're doing a big hiring drive, and on our social media, there's like 3 hires time, one's for SLEO 2 and one's for the SLEO 1 position. We just had an academy class go in September 20th. I don't know the exact number, but it was between 65 and 75 people going in to be officers. One of the good things about this particular hiring bout of all the officers, normally to be an officer, you got to take a civil service test to get in. But obviously we had COVID going on. Nobody's going into classes and masses taking tests. So we were able to work something out with the Civil Service Commission to have I guess if you want to call it a pilot program, to suspend civil service for hiring purposes only, not for when you come work at the Civil Service Police Department, but for hiring purposes only. So not only can we hire qualified people, but we can hire more qualified people from the city, because it's been known that we have a lot of people that take the tests, and sometimes the residents are a little lower on the list, and that's kind of what they find. Some of the residents are a little low on the list, but specifically we were looking to hire, and we're still looking to hire Camden residents. They get top priority. So it's on our website, www.camdencountypolice.camdencountypd.org. And you just go into the hiring section, you tab down, and it'll have all 3 flyers. You click on the link, and it'll take you to like an application page. And that's our first part of the application, that you're expressing interest. And then they'll go from there. They'll reach out to you and go from there. Anybody have any questions about that part? Okay. Going back to our unit, now that we're under the direction of Captain Coley has obviously been in the department for a long time. She's a captain now, and she's always been involved with community outreach. I mean, ever since she was just an officer, and that was just her own thing. Now that obviously we do it on the level of the police department, and we're really, really in the communities now. It was just a benefit, and it's a pleasure to have her aboard as a captain, and Lieutenant Siegel. And we've already, since she's been here, partnered up with her on some events. Like she had the basketball hoop it up. They just did a bingo event in East Camden that we're going to be bringing to Parkside to a bingo event as well. I know that to the Faison Muse, I know officers went there today to try to see when we can work out something for bingo for them. And we're planning more things for the community members, trying to get some things with some kids involved as well, because obviously we're having some issues with them. So we can try to get them involved and, let them know that we're not just, we're police, but we're also here for them, not just the community. But some kids have a little disconnect with the police sometimes. So that's kind of what we're here to do, to bridge some of the gaps with the community. And, so far everything's been working well. We've been, like I said, we've been doing this for years. Officer Baker, just like you heard earlier, she's entrenched in the Parkside, in the community period, but in Parkside. Like you said, Sheila, she checks on you every week. I don't check on you as much because we call each other when we need each other, or we just call just to say hey. But and plus I know Officer Baker's always checking on you. She's got you. So that's where we are with that. We're going to try to do more events. I've noticed that, like, some of the things, especially when COVID hit, we were getting a lot of stuff, like when you're talking about the food drives and everything else, a lot of that stuff I would notice would start and emanate like in North Camden or downtown. So I'm so glad that we're redirecting things now, bringing it to South Camden, bringing it to Parkside, so we can have the same opportunities that they have, the same things that they get down there in our areas as well. And that's why we're specifically branching out, and like you told me, Sheila, we talked about it, that Officer McPherson, Officer Mack talked to you about some things he wanted to do, and some other things that we're going to look into, and we're going to get with you and work some things out. Some good things
Yeah.
for Parkside, some good things for South Kensington.
Exactly. We got something that's in the planning. We're working on it right now. We're trying to do an outside event and we're putting it all together. So stay tuned. It's going to be like something that everybody can participate in. It won't be hard for us to do. Thank you, Kev, for all of that information. I'm going to now ask Officer Baker to explain the Stop It app and tell people how we should be using it. So that way, it'll make it easier for everybody involved.
Sheila, before we go to Officer Baker, I was going to address the thing about the schools. I know that with the letting out of schools, when you were talking about the kids and everything else, we do have a safe corridors unit, but right now we utilize them because we're short staffed. The chief just hired back, I think it was like 20 officers that we used to have before. They left for various issues, nothing obviously bad, but like they went to other departments, so they had health issues, family issues, but he's hired them back. We're trying to replenish, obviously, since the reason why we have this hiring drive as well. So I know just the other day, I was obviously in Parkside and I saw an officer sitting right at the corner right there at Park and Bear, because we got that traffic problem and all those bumps, so people drive like maniacs. And of course, the kids shooting right across the street without even looking. So they're starting to beef it up a little bit at the schools, especially schools that we know that are a problem. And obviously Camden High is just starting back up. So that's something we definitely want to address. So I know that there's been talks, and even also with the fight at the football game, there's been talks with Captain Kersey and the Safe Corridors unit and their staff to beef that whole area up, especially when the school lets out and obviously when the games are happening as well. That's all I had to say.
Okay, well, good. Things are moving because you guys are always working together, no matter what the situation is. This whole thing with the Camden High and the 4 schools being together, most of us saw this coming. And the children haven't been around each other in a whole year. It's a whole lot that's getting ready to unwind. But I think if we give them enough to do, like, we get them, just burn them out some kind of way, sports wise, doing something, dances, something that's going to give them some kind of something. I think that if we did that, that would give them, take some of that energy out of them. We all were kids at one time. Our parents did something to tire us out. Most of the time they put us outside and let us play until we just could not take it no longer. And we had to come in and then get a bath and go to bed. So we need to do that with our children. They need to get out more and have more activities, but our poor children, unfortunately, are locked down on, these things right here. And, they don't know how to do anything else. So it's something we all have to come together and work on. So let's keep our minds together and do whatever. Councilman, your hand is up.
Yes, Sheila, Officer Wilkes had mentioned the new change in leadership with Lieutenant Watkins moving on. Let's just keep him in prayer. We all know Lieutenant Watkins and Parkside. I love working with Lieutenant Watkins and Wilkes and Levy. I was with him last night in lineup, and he announced his formal retirement, and I believe that's real soon. So we love him and we wish him the best. So just let's keep him, his family, in prayer. Thank you.
Oh yes, we will. Thank you for that. Okay, Miss Patricia, I see your hand up.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to the community outreach for the officers to come by and check on us young seniors and things like that in the neighborhood. I really do appreciate it, and they've been very, very nice. And it's really nice. It's really nice to have them to come, to do that. And also, I wanted to get the number that we could call for, I think the music, loud noise or something like that is 10 o'clock at night and it's supposed to shut down. Well, I live on Princess and on Kenwood. There's 2 houses. I don't mind them having their parties, but I really don't like hearing all their music up until 1 o'clock in the morning sometimes. one family usually turns theirs off by like 10 or 10:30. But it can go up until 1 o'clock. And all I want them to do is turn the music down. I don't want to hear it on Princess Avenue. I really don't. And then the paper that I got before with, what do you call that thing on it? It's the round thing. But anyhow, I was supposed to be able to call the police department to ask them if they could please ask them. I need a phone number. I need a phone number to just call and ask them to please turn it down. They don't have to turn it off. Just turn it down.
Okay, we have a tip line number. It's 856. You ready? I'm sorry.
I'm writing.
Okay, 856
Uh-huh.
757. I believe it's 7042.
7042.
Yep. Or you can call the non-emergency line, which is 856.
856.
The non-emergency police line, which is 856 757
757
7400.
7400. Thank you so very much. I appreciate that.
So Kev, that
You're
was an
very welcome.
emergency
No
line,
problem.
or that's just a tip line?
That's
Kevin.
the non-emergency police line was the second one. The non-emergency police line was the 757-7400. And the
Okay.
tip line, which they check obviously as well, it's 757-7042.
Okay, thank
Okay.
you.
But obviously if you're computer savvy or if you're phone savvy, Stop It app does all things.
And with that, we're segueing right into Officer Baker, who is going to actually explain
Sheila.
that. But before, Councilman Collins.
Okay, I just want Ms. Pat to know that I did have a conversation with Mr. Ray Davis, and he has been pretty good. They have lowered the music. He has contained his music activity or what he does inside his gate, and it's from 10 to 12. After 12, we really shouldn't hear anything, but 10 o'clock, he has been pretty respectful lately, and have instructed them to turn it down.
Excellent. So that's what happens when we have, all of our council and all of our elected officials together. You got a question, they have an answer, and Councilman Collins is already on and seeing that, he's a Park Cityan anyway. So he hears what we hear, sees what we see, same way Officer Baker does. So this is the great thing about it, having people that are already in our community, working in our community for our community. So hopefully that helps. Ms. Pat, if you do have any other problems with that though, you do have a number now. And if you do want to listen, you can learn how to use the Stop It app in a minute. It's not hard. If you're on Zoom, you can do the Stop It app. Seriously. All right.
Yeah, okay.
Officer
All right,
Baker.
thank you. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Officer Baker, as everybody has pretty much mentioned throughout the meeting so far. I'm part of the community outreach unit as well as my sergeant, Sergeant Wilkes had mentioned.
So Watkins retired and I didn't even
So what I'm showing right now is kind of like the newer flyer, just giving you a glimpse of it, of the application that you can download on your phone, which is called Stop It, all one word. So pretty much if you go to your app store on your phone, on the Apple phone, it will be called the Apple App Store. Or if you have an Android, it will be called Google Play. So if you go to that store, you can just type in your search bar, Stop It, with no space in between, just one word. And the application should come up as a purple icon with an S on it, with this particular logo, but just in purple on the screen. That would be the application that you would download. And once you download it, it will ask you for organization. The organization you would type in would be it's no longer going to be a code, which it was previously. What it's going to ask you for is an organization. So it would be Camden County Police Department. Once you type that in, you will see our name come up. So you would just simply tap on that. It will then confirm with you as well as ask you to accept the terms and conditions. Once you accept that, you'll then see on your screen that it will have a banner kind of at the top saying Camden County Police Department. And that is how you know that the application is then connected to our department directly. From that point on, it will go directly to that screen and there will be a button in the middle that says submit a tip. When you hit that button that says submit a tip to your organization, you will then see I'm not quite sure if anyone can see, but sorry about the lighting. Oh, there we go. You'll see, you probably can't see the writings of it, but you will then see a number of different categories. You would then just simply select the category that it closely is related to and hit save. Once you hit that, it will, if it's like kind of like your first couple times, it will give you a disclaimer saying that if you're reporting if you're making false reports, it is pretty much breaking the law. You would have to accept that. And then you will see a screen saying new incident. Sorry about the lighting. Once again, it'll be new incident. And then it'll also say in that box that you should give pretty much what would you like to report and to please provide as much detail as possible. This is kind of one of the more important things when we're reporting incidents or any kind of details that you would think the police department needs to know about. So this goes from if you just see someone suspicious in the area, I would give as many details about that person that you see, from possible height, what kind of clothes they're wearing, what color clothes they're wearing, sneakers, what kind of hair color, all those details matter. Once you insert whatever it is you need to report in that box, there's also another box below that has attachments. So if you hit the box that has a plus sign in it under that section, it will then give you an option to open your camera or to open your gallery to your phone. So, which is also a pretty cool feature, is you can add a picture or a short video clip, which can be really great detail to us, because then we're able to put a picture to what it is you're seeing, and we can look into it. One thing I do, and then from then on, you can just hit, submit. I do want to stress though, when you are using the Stop It application, that it isn't something that will give you an immediate response. So I wouldn't have the expectation of seeing an officer within 5 minutes of you reporting something. However, it is very important that there are reports coming in if there's issues coming in of loud music, or if there are certain people in your area and you as a citizen, you don't recognize those people and you think perhaps maybe something that we should look into. Perhaps, we don't know, you could be stopping someone from committing a crime that point on. Not saying you're accusing anyone, but you as a citizen could place a police officer there if you feel like that they're a risk for some reason, or suspicious, at least I'll say. Not saying that they're doing anything wrong, but it's important that we know about these things, as you are our other set of eyeballs. We don't necessarily see everything all the time, and as much as we try to be, we can't be everywhere all at once. So that is the reasons why we stress everybody use the Stop It app. I know sometimes for the last year or so, since our unit has been pretty much installed into the department as a official unit, you have probably seen a flyer go out to your area, maybe in your mailbox or on your vehicle, stating that we're really trying to push that people report things, especially if there's certain crimes in the area. If you happen to hear about any given details that may help us in it, please utilize the app. Or you can also use the tip line if you aren't that tech savvy, but we are really stressing the importance of using that app, because it will then turn that information to real time, so that way we can act accordingly. Another detail, or my last thing I do want to stress upon that reporting, is that you may not always see an officer in plain sight looking into it, but I can assure you that all your reports are seriously being looked into, especially since it comes directly to us. It doesn't go to a communication center and then get rerouted to a dispatcher than to us as a police department, but it goes straight to us. So that's one of the cooler things about it as well. Are there any questions? Yes.
I see concerned citizen.
Yes, good morning. I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. Just have a concern for the 1000 block of Langham Avenue. As of late, it has become criminally active, especially in the rear alleyway on the even side in between Empire and Langham Avenue. I'm talking dirt bikes, drugs, all times of night, dirt bikes popping wheelies up and down the sidewalk, disturbing citizens. It just seems like they are daring someone to say something or to speak up. I know myself and several other concerned citizens on the block have called several times, but each week it seems like it gets worse and worse and worse. And you know, I guess one of the things that might need to happen is that we may need increased patrols in that alleyway, and they're on that corner of Walnut and Langham Avenue, because I mean, this is just nonstop. Dirt bikes up and down the sidewalks, up and down, going against traffic, drugs. I mean, it's just all times of night. And just, you know, that's just our concern, because it may seem like something that is small right now, but pretty soon it's going to blow up into something that's much bigger. So I think
where can I find a broom?
Excuse me?
Hi, where can I find a broom?
Asha, Asha, can you mute? Let me see if I can mute her myself. I apologize. Asha, can you hear me?
I'm sorry, I hit mute by accident. Sorry, guys.
Oh, that's all right. No problem. Okay.
Okay.
Officer,
But I did have a comment, Miss Sheila, after, I don't know. Can I go?
well, Officer Baker was going to answer the gentleman from Langham Avenue.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry, I missed that.
Okay.
I'll wait. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
No problem. So I do hear your concern that you are voicing. Those are the types of things that we want to hear through the Stop It app, and the reason being is because it turns into real-time intel. And like I said, it's one of those things where we continue to look into it. The more and more reports we get about a certain issue, and when a certain personnel, like when they get together and they get to look at all the numbers and all the different reports and issues that are coming in, we're then able to allocate resources to that. However, if we're not getting reports of anything, then it's kind of like one of those things where we don't think there's an issue there. So I do stress and I do hear, but we need all those things to be reported through the Stop It app, or you can call the tip line if you aren't that tech savvy. That's another avenue. Or of course, here's another point as well. If it's an emergency, definitely call 911. We don't want you using the Stop It app if it's an emergency. But all of those concerns that you are seeing that you are stating as being small right now, but can turn into a big issue, those are the things that we need reported through the Stop It app.
As well as the piggyback off Officer Baker, we are aware of some issues, obviously, and then the issues in the 1000 block of Langham, as well as certain areas in Parkside. Excuse me, they are being addressed. I mean, we do have a good complement of officers that are in Parkside and that remain in Parkside. We also have specialized units now that because you may not see officers in uniform, but we do have plainclothes officers as well as the narcotics units riding around in unmarked cars to address situations. Sometimes that's a better ability for us, like to get guns off the street if we get a call for a certain area, our plainclothes officers go in, identify everything, then the uniform officers go in and take care of what they have to take care of. But so, Officer Baker was saying, as far as the Stop It App goes, is we are an intelligence run organization. So obviously we do a lot of stuff with computers, a lot of stuff with tech, with data, computers, putting numbers together. And because the Stop It app is anonymous, which I don't know if we touched on, but your name doesn't come up. You get assigned a number, for example, like you say you're number 1 and you're the first person that reported for the day. So we'll see number 1 and it'll be your concern. If an officer in our department that deals with the Stop It app, if they see something that need to ask further questions, for example, if you say they got 3 guys in the alley selling drugs, you might get a alert back saying, well, what are they wearing? Obviously, the more descriptive you are, the more likely it is when the officers arrive to that area, we're not just shooing people out of the way, we can actually deal with the situation. So if you utilize the Stop It app, for example, if you're tech savvy, and you say, hey, look, there's a guy in the alleyways wearing black shoes, a red shirt, blue jeans, and he's going to a white car to stash his drugs. Well, now when the officers show up, they can go directly to those locations and take care of what they got to take care of. If not, they just basically stop the people, talk to them. If they don't have anything on them and they're not, there's no reason, if they check for warrants, there's no reason to detain those people or go any further with any kind of search or probable cause, no reasonable suspicion, we let them go.
Okay.
So of course, now all they do is they just come right back. So the Stop It app is definitely a good tool. And like I said, if you're not tech savvy, definitely utilize the tip line. And if there's people in the alley at 1 o'clock in the morning, I would, if somebody was in my alley at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'd call 911.
911. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So,
Can I add to what he's saying? About 2 months ago, we did increase police presence out there. We had some issues with the distribution company out there, the transportation company, Mr. Dickerson, with people graffitiing the trucks and all. So we increased our presence. Also, from a council perspective, I did get a call from Langham Avenue. Residents had moved out and they were next to an abandoned house. The grass was about up to the 2nd story windows. I called Chief Ron Carr out there from Code Enforcement, and we were able to write it up. And between Code Enforcement and the Department of Public Works, we're able to clean out that whole area so it's visible. Sometimes they would hide back there, but we were able to get the support of Director Walker and Chief Ron Carr to clean that area out.
okay. So that's a good thing. And we really want Parkside to understand this. The Stop It app is the newest thing that we have. 911 has been around for a minute. So when it's really something that you need to report as soon as possible, and you feel as though that there's some type of threat in there, it doesn't take much anymore. Use what you have. Use the 911, use your tip line if you don't feel as though it's very important. And if you can use the Stop It app, it just helps the police officers understand more of what it is that they're going after, and they can get what it is that you saw instead of them trying to figure it out. People dress the same and whatever. Kiana has her hand up. Kiana, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I just wanted to make a quick comment that I've used the app a few times, and I was very impressed by the response time and just what I saw quickly to resolve whatever issue there was. So it really works. I think it's a great tool for our community.
And one of the other things about the Stop It app that, when you are using it, I learned this by using it myself, is that when you are using it, if you are sending in information about a specific event that just happened, you're going to get a number that goes along with that event. And you have to write that number down somewhere, because if you have any other information about that same event, you have to go by that number. So it's highly important to write down the number that they give you when you do your event thing, whatever it is. If you have your pictures and everything attached to it, all of that's going to be in that number. If you start a whole new issue, it'll start a whole brand new number. So is that correct, Officer Baker?
I actually didn't know about that feature, but again, that's one of those things where you are assigned a number. I did know about that part, so yes, definitely that is true. At least
Mhm.
to my knowledge that I know of.
Okay. AJ, you have your hand up?
Yeah, you know what? I just wanted to ask a question that I've always wanted to ask, and it's probably more county. And me coming from a different city, I just never understood. So when you call 911, they actually put you on hold, which is foreign to me because that's not the kind of 911. But it's really concerning because I'll find that I would be on hold for close to sometimes 3 to 4 minutes. And I'm just wondering, I mean, obviously in a city like New York, where I'm from, you call 911 immediately, whatever happens, supposed to at least. But I'm real concerned because even there was a situation, this is from me working at the hospital where someone wanted to kill themselves and I wanted to hurry up and get a police to them. And it was just frustrating to be on hold for that long. So I was just wondering, and if anybody can answer it, that as far as the infrastructure of how they come up with that, and has that in any way um kind of, I don't know, like, it's just time to me is just like so important, and just being put on hold for that. The longest I've been put on hold, I think, was 5 or 6 minutes. So I'm just wondering if anybody has ever, or if that's just something I should get used to. I just never understood that.
Okay. Councilman, are you?
I would love to answer it, but I would yield to the assemblyman if he would like to answer it first. He's the senior person. If not, then I would be more than happy to.
Nice pass, Chris. I'll take it. No, but I yield to the police. But my understanding is right in counties, they have in 17 of our 21 counties, they actually have 911 services run by the county.
Exactly.
So when you call the 911 number, it goes to the county, and then they transfer it to your local police force. I've never heard of being put on hold so long. Every time I've called, I've gotten transferred right over. So I yield to the police. Perhaps I don't know, Sergeant Wilkes or
Well, let me
or
add to
Chris.
Yeah,
let
I
me
was going
dig
to
a
answer.
little. Okay, I'd like to dive a little deeper before we turn it over to Sergeant Wilkes, if I may. There was a time under the Milan administration that Camden 911 system was state of the art. When the Republican National Convention came to Philadelphia, protesters jammed their radios, but they could not jam ours. However, in the early 2000s, our 911 system was transferred out to the county. So we have a complex out in Lindenwold, the county complex, that when you call 911, it immediately goes to the complex out in the county. That's under the direction of Commissioner Jonathan Young. And from there, their dispatch will dispatch it to whichever municipality it goes to. I had an issue with that in the beginning. I was coaching at Whitman Park. We had a pit bull on the field with all the kids. I called 911 and I said, "We're at Whitman Park." And the 911 dispatcher had no clue where I was. That that reminded me that they're not familiar with Camden and the streets of Camden, and sometimes it could be a challenge, but most time there is a quick response.
In regards to the fact that we have
I can answer a lot of that question for you if you like.
okay.
All right. Obviously, Councilman Collins is correct. Back in Camden days, we had the Republican National Convention. We got an 800 megahertz system, which was the top of the line at the time in the area, and you couldn't decode it. You couldn't get on the system. You couldn't break our communications. I don't know how it transpired, but obviously it got sent to the county. The county does do our communications as well as other towns and cities and stuff in the county. But because of the unique situation in Camden, they hired a lot of the Camden communications operators to answer Camden only calls, for example. So if you're calling for Lindenwold it'll still go to the dispatch center. But I guess I don't know how they do it, but it gets funneled to them. And just like you said, if you say, I guess by phone number, whoever calls or what location, it gets funneled to them, and they'll say, 911. It just says 911 no matter what. You tell them what your problem is, and if it's an emergency, they'll just dispatch it right to the Lindenwold officers. But as far as Camden goes, like when we call, I call personally up there and I talk to them. I talk to the dispatchers from Camden, old Camden dispatchers. So we actually have people that are familiar with the city, that's familiar with how we operate. So that's a good plus for us. I have never experienced, I know, like we said, New York, and obviously I've seen it on TV. I've never actually had it happen to me ever. I've never had in Camden County. And if you had that, I can't say, I can only say I'm sorry, but I wouldn't know why it would be that. So I would say 911, hold please, and then put you on hold. Because 911 is obviously a very important line. I have actually seen communication operators and how they operate. I'm talking about the supervision of staff. We have different channels that we utilize for our police operations all over the county. And Camden has its own dedicated, it's like 6 channels, which is unheard of because most of the county only uses 2 different channels. So that shows how much the county's dedicated to Camden, that we actually can utilize 6 different channels to talk to communications operators, and they can reach out to us if an emergency happens, or just for 911 calls in general. So I've never really experienced them saying 911, please hold. I mean, like I said, if you did for Camden County, I don't know why it would be that way.
And just to add to
I
that,
think,
Commissioner
okay.
Young, it's been his responsibility also from Commissioner Director to make that 911 call center more diverse, and he has done a good job employing more people of color.
Well, I just also want to point out, yes, most of the time there are times when it's not 4 minutes or 6 minutes. But I know that when I was communications navigator at the hospital, but my hours were 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., that I was on hold because in this particular situation, it was someone in distress. So we timed the call. So it was really concerning. And then, of course, for me, whether it's culture shock or just different, just being put on hold, I'm used to 911, where's your emergency? And bang, that's it. Not 911, where's your emergency? What county are you in? Okay, can you hold on for a moment? And then, whatever else happens after that. So I was just curious and probably just really wanted to know why it's set up that way. Not comparing it to New York City, but just curious as to why that's even, the case for an emergency.
In specific situations such as yours, AJ, and our county does have its own system. So that can happen. It was not saying that it never did or whatever. You got timing and everything to prove it. So I think that, when something like that happens, that should be something that should be sent directly to someone that would be able to investigate it sooner than not. Because if it happened once, the question isn't, will it happen again? And if it did happen again, why is it happening when 911 is the instant call? It's supposed to be the one that when you call, they're supposed to say, what is your emergency? And they're supposed to know various things. As Councilman Collins just said, he called, they didn't know where he was. So, I mean, when it's got to be a whole thing together in order for it to work for the system, because it's not something that is like a fix tomorrow kind of thing, but it is something that we definitely need to be on top of, so that way we'll understand what it is that we have to do to get it fixed. Assemblyman Spearman.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I agree, as Chris pointed out, as the councilman pointed out, definitely this needs to be brought to the attention of Commissioner Young, because he is over that department and he will definitely get right on it, because that's ridiculous that you had to wait 5 minutes. It's crazy.
Exactly. So if you go, AJ, if you go to Camden County, I guess it's the Camden County website, and find Commissioner Young on the Camden County website and his email address, email him that situation. I don't really care when it happened. It happened. He needs to know about it.
Okay. We'll do.
Okay. Thank you so very much.
I will also address Commissioner Young on that matter.
So you're going to have that, and you're going to have a CC copy from the councilman. So that's 2 for the price of 1. So
thank you.
we're going to find out. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. we're going to move on. We don't have a few more minutes left. We were supposed to actually start a conversation about cannabis. And since we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to actually take 5 extra minutes tonight. So I just wanted to start this conversation because it's time for us to have the real conversation. Like, there's so many taboos and so many negatives about it that, you know, people are still, it's the same way it was about everything else. You know, when Blacks were able to vote, and when Blacks were able to marry non-Blacks, and when, you know, LGBTQs came out, and when all of the things that changed. Well, here's another change. So we're about to go into this whole new industry. Now, we're not going into the industry. The industry is already here. The cannabis industry is enormous. My favorite word is ginormous, but it is actually very, very big. And some of the things that people are afraid of are what laws and whatever that's going to be held. I did put in the chat, I think I stuck it in there, the web address for New Jersey's Cannabis Regulatory Commission. That's where you need to go. That's like the Bible of the cannabis rules right now. And you also need to read the law that was passed back in February. So with those two things being said, one of the main things that I pulled out of it for us to know tonight is this. Cannabis is legal in the state of New Jersey, okay? Recreational cannabis, medical cannabis is legal in the state of New Jersey. Hemp is legal in the federal government as well as the state of New Jersey and everything else for the United States. You cannot be arrested. You cannot be fined. According to what I'm understanding, I still have Michelle Spearman on the line just in case, for anything that's over, I think it's 6 ounces or less. Okay. The rules have changed completely. It is not what they used to be. This does not mean disrespect to police officers and run around blowing smoke in their face. That is totally disrespectful. But if you are in your own house or wherever you are, whatever you're doing, 6 ounces or less is not going to get you pulled over, or you're going to go to jail, or you're going to have an extraordinary, you know, large fine, if there's a fine at all. And based on this, we don't have a license yet for recreational. So you can't actually go out here and start a business or start selling or do all of those things. None of that is legal yet. So you have to read the rules and regulations that's under the New Jersey laws. So August 19th, CRC came up with what you call the summary. This is the short version right here. The summary of the Cannabis Regulatory Commissions. It's 160 pages. So with the help of Michelle Banks Spearman and Council McCoach and a few others, there was an ad hoc committee that was developed that I sat on, and a few others who actually put together the language of what we needed to know for Camden City and what we wanted to do for Camden City. And now that we have this in play, it is not law yet because it has to be read again, and Councilman Collins can verify all of that. But we are at a point now where we're now moving in a direction of how our city is going to reshape because of an industry, not because of something that's going to be, you know, fun and games. This is not a fun and games kind of thing. This is an industry. This is job creations. This is, you know, new growth in various businesses, small businesses of various types, you know, training programs, you know, all kinds of things are going to come from just learning how this business is going to grow.
Sheila,
So, sir,
I need you to back up just a little bit. Yes, cannabis is legal in the state of New Jersey, but I need you to clarify Camden's position. I know we opt out. Did we opt back in? Because when we opt out, that meant that in the city of Camden, it was prohibited. So I need you to just clarify, because you said two things. You said it was legal. If you have less than a certain amount, you should be fine. But based on us opting out, we were under the understanding that in the city of Camden, it is prohibited until we opt back in.
right. And according to Chief Rodriguez, at this point, because of the opt-out and because of the state's ruling, the Camden County Police Department is not coming after people for minor offenses in cannabis use. Like I said, disrespectful cannabis use is a whole nother thing. And because the city of Camden did opt out, you know, the prohibition part of it is that we're not allowing anybody to come in to do anything yet. That's what that total opt-out means. You can't come in and do anything. You can't come in and sell. You can't come in and start a business. You can't come in and do any of those things. But according to the state of New Jersey, the law says that if you choose to smoke within your own residence, if you choose to, you know, take a part of it in your own privacy, that is a state rule which says it's okay. So the city of Camden is not going to arrest you and put you in jail because the state law says that you can't, from what I'm understanding. Michelle, you're muted. There you go.
Wanted to clarify that you are correct that when the city opted out, what we have said is that you can't run a business.
Right.
Now, one of the things, opting out does not prohibit you from, if someone else if some place in Collingswood or another place that already has their ordinance in place has a delivery service, you can get marijuana by delivery and have it delivered to your home. That is not prohibited. Opt-out does not have the power to prohibit that. But all other classes of cannabis licenses, we have opted out. You mentioned something about there has to be another reading. There has to be an ordinance. And that ordinance, we are in the process of drafting our ordinance. And we encourage, there will be 2 readings. And we will encourage the citizens to, to listen and review our ordinance and ask questions and give us your feedback. While we had the ad hoc committee, I'm sure the city council would like to hear more than, everyone's concerns and not just those who were on the ad hoc committee. And so once the ordinance is drafted and released and council votes on it, at that point, those businesses will be able to be, legally opened and, in specific areas of the city.
Okay, so that's total clarification between council and everybody, so we understand, what the opting out actually meant for us when we did opt out. And the word prohibition is really a crazy word because it's always been the same word. It just means prohibited, not to be able to be done. That's basically what it means. But our opt out wasn't just for not being able to use cannabis at all, because if that was the case, I don't know what's going on right now because it's still happening all around us everywhere. So, but we are now trying to be respectful of where we're going now with our laws here in the city of Camden and what we're going to do, how we're going to build, how we're going to come together. I encourage everyone that's on this Zoom tonight to go to newjersey.gov/cannabis. Look for the CRC rules that was implemented on August 19th. Look at all of the meetings that were held by the CRC during the time period for the 90-some days that they did what they had to do. Look at the regulations, the laws that were actually signed into law by Governor Murphy back in February of 2021, and everything else that may have come from that time to this time. It's important that we know where we are and what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing. I hear somebody. Okay. All right. So there's more to this conversation. As we have more meetings, we're going to, stick cannabis in here as a short conversation at some point in time where everybody can get an understanding, ask questions about it in various ways. People are still, and the thing is that do not be afraid to ask the questions. If you don't know, you don't know. The thing is learning so that you will know. So you'll have a better understanding of what it is, how it works, why it's here, why it was prohibited in the first place. Why was it so illegal, and all of the history that goes along with it. As I spoke to you earlier, Black and brown people have gone through a whole lot for reasons that we don't even understand now, even to this very day. Cannabis was a reason that we wasn't supposed to go through. But hundreds of thousands of people, the record just showed me that over 360,000 cases were expunged for cannabis use. by the state of New Jersey as of July 1st, 2021, with 150,000 cases still in queue, waiting to be expunged. If you have a record out there in this world and you got arrested for cannabis at any given time, your record is supposed to be expunged, period. No questions asked. Because unless you were trying to sell to cartels and you had tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of cannabis, that's a whole nother story. But anything that's a small thing has to be taken from your record so your life can completely go forward. So we will have more conversations later. We will talk more about this openly, where we can actually like ask questions and, you know, go through it. I'm gonna keep our Zoom open for another 5 minutes if there are any questions that need to be asked right now for any reason. That's going to start as Michelle told us. She said that driving and delivery is the only thing that is actually allowed in the state of New Jersey. We have 6 areas that we have under the rules, and I'm just looking real quick so I can just make sure I got them. But we have 6 different areas for licensing. The only one that is available that is the state approved is driving, like to be able to transport from one place to another by going to, you know, say Curaleaf and getting it for somebody and bringing it back to them. So Kiana, you have a question.
How would I find out more information about what's legal, what's not, all the details and all of that, like you were just speaking about?
The legal part of it is all found on the New Jersey website, newjersey.gov/cannabis. And when you go in there, it's got a whole list of a lot of different areas to go in. You go in, you find what you want. Recreational, they'll talk about that. Medical, they'll talk about that. They'll talk about licensing, which is not up yet, but medical licensing had been established and they started to actually distribute those within the last couple of years, but they're so backlogged right now. They can't even begin to give out recreational license because the medical license are still backlogged. So they're trying to get all of that together at the same time. But to get yourself ready for it, that's what you need to just know the law and what it says, what the CRC is saying. They're the state. They're running the whole entire show. We're a city inside the state. We're going to run our show inside of our city, but we have to be guided by the state laws. So that's the way that's going to run for us. So, you know, when people start asking whatever, like when you get down to things like hemp, for instance, which is not a cannabis, it's a cannabis product, but it's not what you call a psychoactive cannabis product. Hemp is legal federally. The federal government legalized hemp in 2018. We didn't even know it happened overnight. We woke up the next morning, it was legal. So basically that's how it happened. But at the end of the day, hemp is the only thing which comes in CBD products. All of the CBD products are hemp-based. There can only be 0.3% of any type of THC within that hemp product. Nothing over that, or it cannot be allowed. It's considered a cannabis-based, THC-based product if it has over 0.3% THC in it at all. So your CBD-based ointments, gels, tinctures, the stuff that you actually put under your tongue, capsules, whatever you're taking, all of those have to be based as a 0.3% THC-based product. You can grow it. I don't know how the state of New Jersey is working with the grow part of it for hemp, because hemp is legal, but I don't know whether or not the state of New Jersey actually said that we can actually grow it personally. So that's one of the rules that you have to look at that's in the big law of the state of New Jersey. I would not, you know, attempt to even try, because right now, across the board, medical is illegal to grow, recreational is illegal to grow. I am not sure about the hemp product yet. So at this point, you know, if you're going to use hemp products, no problem, you know, but everything else is going to be not touchy, but it's just something that you do have to monitor how it's going to go, because cannabis is still illegal by the feds. So the federal government has not legalized it. But at this point, they are not infiltrating on the states that have legalized it. They're not coming down on them and saying, you can't do this, you're wrong, whatever. So this is where we're sitting right now. We're right in between. And they're working towards a plan to actually legalize it federally. So once that part of it is done, then it'll start a whole new thing in New Jersey. and then we can go on and do business or whatever. And it's going to be an amazing thing for us to go through. So I thank everybody for being on tonight. I truly appreciate it. If there's any other questions regarding cannabis right now, I'm open to answer any questions you have. We're trying to have our own Zoom where we're going to come on and just have really what you call a cannabis conversation. So that way we can just talk about it openly, talk about it in various forms, the different types there are, the infusions that's going on, the products that's being sold and why they're being sold, how they're being sold and everything else. And actually get ready to like explain to our children, you know, what was bad, you know, it's not bad, but they can't have it. They're not allowed to have it. It's bad for them, but it's not a bad thing. Like if they wanted to get into a business and wanted to make creams, children are getting very inventive nowadays. They're getting very creative. And they say, hey, mommy, you know, if you got a thing on your elbow and the cannabis cream works, why don't we make a cream that works for that? If a child comes to you and gives you that idea, I would honor it. I would try and honor it anyway, because, you know, you never know where the intelligence is going to come from nowadays. So I want to thank all of our guests tonight. I totally appreciate everyone for being here. Mayor Karstafen, who came and he gave us, you know, his 100 days. Assemblyman Bill Spearman, who's still with me. He stays with me the whole entire program. I'm like, oh my God, it's so love. I just love you so. Commissioner Jonathan Young, who always gives us good information. It's the strongest information that we can, you know, utilize by way of the county. You know, our own Anointed News Journal editor, as well as former football star, as well as God only knows whatever else I can call it. Our own Chris Collins, you know, our councilman, second ward, always fighting a good fight, on top of his game every day, all day.
I'm just a mentee of our Assemblyman Spearman.
Oh, I love it.
I'm watching him closely.
I love it. I want to also thank, you know, Rasha Dickerson, who couldn't be here, but thank her in spirit because, you know, she did send some information. Our own Captain Vivian Coley, who also was called away for an emergency, and she was going to be here, but we thank her not apprentices, but her stand-up officers, Sergeant Kevin Wilkes, my go-to buddy, day or night. I can call this man anytime, it doesn't even matter. And to now our new door-to-door officer, Officer Baker, who was like, you know, knocking on doors and ring doorbells and leaving messages, you know. I want to thank everybody for being, you know, a part of it. Everybody that joined us. Kiana, thank you so much for sticking all the way in. Mr. Corbett, Marion, you got to come. You got to speak up. You got some things you got to say. I know you do. Thank you, Joey Rodriguez, for being here with us. Miss Pat, Latanya Brooks, Miss Ebony Henson, Mike Williams, Miss Christina Barnes. Let me see who else I got here. Maurice, Isaiah Rivera, AJ Riggs, Serena, Leah Griffin. Thank you so much for always being with us. We're going to come back next month with a thing about health. We're looking at, you know, midwives, doulas, the beginning of life, you know, parenting, raising children, the middle of life, and then caregiving. And what do you have to do to how do you go from that part of taking care of persons that used to take care of you? You know, we want to talk about these things openly because I'm watching it grow in our neighborhood. It's actually growing in my neighborhood right in front of me. I said, somebody has to talk about this at some point in time. And we'll talk about cannabis again. So thank you all so much. And I appreciate you all. Have a wonderful night. Be safe. Remember, social distance, wear your mask. I don't care what you did, vaccinated or not, and actually wash your hands and your face. Okay? Be safe, be peaceful, stay lovely. Good night.